Hello, FASA. Welcome to another Bedtime Stories with FASA. Today I'll be reading Ibong Adarna. Let's get right into it. Long ago, in the kingdom of Burbania, there lived a king with 3 sons. Don Pedro was the firstborn. Don Diego came next. And Don Juan was the youngest of the 3 princes. Here's there's images to this too. The kingdom was happy and prosperous until King Fernando suddenly fell ill. Many doctors came and went, but no one could make the king well. His 3 sons were filled with sadness. As time passed, their father's conditions worsened. One day, an old wise man came and saw the ailing king. The only cure for the king's illness is the song of Adarna, he said. Where can we find the Adarna? The 3 princes asked in unison. On the high peaks of Tabor, but catching it is a difficult task. I shall go first and to try and catch it, Don Pedro bravely declared. Don Pedro faced many difficulties in his search for the magical bird. He crossed many mountains and forests, but failed to find Mount Tabor. He suffered hunger and fatigue before he found the elusive mountain. The Adarna lived on a wondrous tree on Mount Tabor. The tree was called Piedras Platas. Every morning the Adarna returned to Piedras Platas to sleep. Don Pedro waited at the foot of the tree. His plan was to climb the tree and catch the bird once it had fallen asleep. The Adarna returned to Piedras Platas. Its beauty was enchanting. With its mystical feathers, it was more beautiful than any queen. Before sleeping, it sang 7 times, as its magnificent feathers changed colors 7 times too. Overwhelmed by all the color and song, Don Pedro was lulled to sleep. This was dangerous because the bird relieved itself before going to sleep, and whoever its droppings landed on turned to stone. When this happened, Don Pedro turned to stone. It's really sad. Excuse me. Don Diego followed Don Pedro. He also... Excuse me for that interruption. Let's continue. Don Diego followed Don Pedro. He also went through pain and hunger before reaching Piedras Platas. And because of the melodious singing of the Adarna, Don Diego was also lulled to sleep at the foot of the tree. Like Don Pedro, Don Diego turned to stone. When Don Diego did not return, Don Juan started his own quest. Like his brothers, he went through many difficulties. He encountered an old leper on his journey. Sir, the old leper said to Don Juan, please give me some food and drink. Don Juan felt pity for the old man, who looked like he was about to die. He gave the old leper what was left of his food and drink. Very nice of him. The old leper suddenly changed his appearance. Thank you, Don Juan, he said with joy. Because James, sorry, James, you gotta cut that out.
Okay, yeah.
The old leper suddenly changed his appearance. Thank you, Don Juan, he said with joy. Because of your kind heart, I will help you. I know how to catch the Adarna bird. Only the kind-hearted like you can catch it. The old man taught Don Juan what to do. Then he gave Don Juan 3 things: a calamansi, a razor, and a bottle of holy water. Don Juan was filled with happiness and immediately continued his quest for the mountain where the Adarna lived. When the Adarna came, Don Juan was ready. He fought his sleepiness while the bird sang. Whenever his eyelids felt heavy, he cut his arms and squeezed the calamansi on his wounds. Because of his pain, Don Juan stayed awake. When the Adarna relieved itself, Don Juan was able to avoid its droppings. The picture. This is what the picture looks like. When the Adarna closed its eyes, Don Juan was able to catch the magical bird. Soon after, he sprinkled holy water on the big stones underneath Piedras Platas. The stones turned into humans. Among them were Don Pedro and Don Diego. The 3 brothers embraced each other happily. They set out at once for the kingdom of Urbania. When King Fernando heard the story of the Adarna, he miraculously became well and strong. The kingdom celebrated his good health. They all marveled at Don Juan's courage, but above all, they were in awe of the wondrous beauty and magical song of the Adarna. And that concludes the story of Ibong Adarna. Thank you so much for listening, and good night.